Hey, this is Chris Johnson. Thanks for checking out the Fuel Your Mission vlog. Today we are going to talk about, this is sort of kind of part two. If you saw the last video, I'll link it below. The last video was about complaining and the one thing that it accomplishes, which if you watch that video, it would be that it accomplishes keeping you stuck where you are. So we had a little bit of a sarcastic video on the last vlog about the negatives of complaining and the dangers of it. So the next response would be, and what I've gotten from some of the comments on the blog is, so what do I do about complainers? We talked about how everybody knows complainers, everybody's surrounded by complainers and negativity, and even just in the media, just a lot of heavy negative news and content, and you name it. It's really hard. It can be really hard to be positive in the world today. So as it pertains specifically to complainers, that next response might be, okay, great. Now I know all these negative things about complaining, but how do I deal with complainers? So the title of this blog would be, but what about the complainers? And the thing we need to realize is that we've got to have a game plan. Like anything in life, if you want to achieve something and you want to better your life and improve your productivity and positivity, you've got to have some type of a game plan. Going into things ad hoc and hoping that they turn out well and hoping that you respond the right way and hoping that negativity doesn't affect you, that's not going to work. We live in a negative environment, a negative world. Companies and media outlets are making millions and billions of dollars on spreading negativity through the news. So rather than focus on the positive, we see a lot of that negative slant every time we turn on the TV, no matter what you're watching. So anyway, to get back on track, those complainers I put together, and I had a lot of fun with this, so I definitely want your feedback and to let me know what works for you. But I put together 5 helpful ways to handle complainers. The first of which is to be proactive. So that kind of is the underlying premise of the whole concept of having a game plan, is to be proactive. And the example that I used in the blog was, when you go through a drive-thru and you're picking up your McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, Burger King, whatever, and I try to stay away from fast food, but when you go through drive-thru, if you don't remind them to put the ketchup packet in the bag, you and I know as well as anybody that you're going to get out to that first intersection, you're going to be digging through the bag, and maybe you don't have napkins, and you definitely don't have your ketchup. And it's the most frustrating inconvenience at that time to go through. So I view that, I'm joking around, but I view that the same way with complainers. If you sit next to a complainer at work, or you're friends with a complainer at your college campus, and you see them coming towards you and they've just got that look on their face like they're going to just unload with a bunch of negativity on you, you've got to be proactive. You've got to have either address them first with a positive, or immediately in your mind have some type of a shifting comment to where you can get them back on track and realize that their complaint isn't quite as negative as it should be. So expecting the issue will help you get over them. The second one, and I love this approach, so have fun with it, is to use humor. I by far think that too many people take life seriously, especially in the world that you're in the business world, in the collegiate level, whether you're in school, whether you're in high school or college or whatever. In general, people just don't have that sense of humor. It's almost like a switch that work is all professional and boring, or school or whatever, and then you've got yourself outside of that environment. And I just flat out think that is not the way that we should be. And of course, my joke would be that this is a little subliminal for me because I'm watching The Office right now again, and just love that show. And I think that it just puts a lot in my head about making the workplace fun, or making your classroom a little bit more fun, or your group of friends on campus a little bit more fun. So use humor, and the way that I mean that as it pertains to complaining specifically. So I'm sorry, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but is to be sarcastic with the individual that's complaining. Of course, the underscoring disclaimer is that you need to use discretion here. So, by no means am I saying, you go to the owner of the company or to your boss or to your professor and you sarcastically poke fun at them for complaining. You need to be careful with how you do this. But what I mean by that is turning around that individual's complaint, and playing fun at it, making fun of it, and going along with them and making it obvious that you're being sarcastic. Um, it will really make them feel a little foolish. And so that's why, again, I would recommend that you do it with someone maybe you're close to or that you know well enough that they can handle that. But I think that, in my opinion, that sarcastic nature will make them feel foolish in a way of, wow, you being sarcastic with me is making me really think hard about what I just said. Maybe it's stupid what I just said, or the complaint that I had is ridiculous if my friend here is, making fun of me back. The third way would be to play the devil's advocate. And this is, we all know people. My mother was like this, where she could play the devil's advocate about any range of topics, to always kind of frustrate me, but to pit my own ideas against another idea. And I think the premise of the devil's advocate is so effective. It's so effective in the college setting. It's so effective in a classroom setting. It's effective within your friends and your family, and absolutely at work. So the concept of having someone argue a completely adverse viewpoint for the sole purpose of coming up with a clear, concise solution out of that's productive for everybody and the best possible decision is the whole premise and concept behind the devil's advocate. So I think with a complainer, the way you could approach that is by swinging the scope around to where whatever they're complaining about, you either reposition that to highlight the fact that if they got what they were complaining about, would it produce any different result? So in other words, maybe turn their negative and flip it on its head to where they received that ideal scenario that they were complaining against. And it will really show that their whole attitude is broken and the whole way that they go around thinking about things is broken. The other way that you could also apply that would be, if you talk about something worse. So, and again, this is something, we all have heard that when someone's complaining about food, or a little kid complaining about what's on their plate at dinner, and their mother or father might say, there's children that are starving in parts of the world that would love to have this. It's a joke, obviously, and just a tactic to get your kids to eat well. But I think the premise is the same, where showing people that there are those that have it worse than you do is a classic way to help that complainer, or at least show them the error of their ways, and really get them to think about things in a different way. The fourth one would be proposing solutions, and this is obviously the critical thing that a lot of complainers miss. And I talked about this a little bit in the last video, is what's the purpose or the point of complaining. And usually a complaint in and of itself is pointless. Having a critique or a criticism of something with the point of showing something that could be improved, and then not only showing that something could be improved, but also proposing a solution to it, that's absolutely a way that you can help the complainer realize that they're not doing themselves any good by complaining. So I'd really encourage you to do that. Help that complainer. Maybe it means you proposing a solution for them, but I would say even take it a step further and really help them to see that they are capable of putting together a solution for themselves, and then taking that and addressing their complaint with that solution. The last thing, and the one I'll leave you with, and kind of wrap up the bottom line into this, the takeaway for today would be sympathize with that complainer, but also hold your ground. So no one likes having a conversation with someone that doesn't listen. And I would say that is the critical, this almost could have been number one. You have to listen first. You have to understand where that person's coming from. Obviously, like, I'm generalizing here, so if you sit next to someone at school or at work, and every single day, all day long, they're just complaining or coming in and disrupting your day to complain about something, I get that. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, in general speaking, when someone complains about something, there's a reason for it, whether it's valid, whether they need to move on and be mature about it or not. The best thing you can do is first approach it with patience and just listen. understand where they're coming from. I'm not saying you need to agree with them, but understand where they're coming from, see their perspective, and then jump into one of those four areas that I mentioned above. And obviously tweak that as you need to, like I said, but I really believe that too often we lose our cool, we get frustrated, we get worked up right away. And we, as a result of that, get pulled down negatively. Even though we're not complaining, we start to feel negative because we get all that tension and frustration that we can't focus then and be productive ourselves and be positive ourselves. So those are the 5 tips, the 5 tools. Definitely leave your comments below because I do want to hear, did I miss anything? How do you address someone who's negative and a complainer in the workplace? And then the bottom line, what I leave you with for the takeaway today is use patience, like I said. So take it that way first, have patience, work on yourself, develop yourself, and then after you have patience and you go through that listening period with that individual, then jump over to one of those different scenarios that will help you ultimately overcome that negativity and that complainer. So good luck. Let me know how you're doing. And thanks for checking out the video. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.